quieter. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's first department budget hearing. We have a presentation tonight from Human Resources Department in Hartford Public Library. I'm Councilwoman Marilyn E. Rossetti, and I am the chair of Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee. This meeting is broadcasting live on HPA-TV's Xfinity Government Channel 96 and Frontier Government Channel 6032. It will also be streamed via hptv.org, the HPA-TV Facebook page, and the HPA-TV Apple TV, Amazon TV, and Roku TV apps. It will also be made available on the HPA-TV YouTube channel. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues present today. On the screen, I have Councilman Gale, Assistant Majority Leader Hernandez, and Councilman Thomas. And to my right is Council President T.J. Clark. We will start with, I am told we will start with Human Resources and Labor Relations. And I have Marlene Fleeting, Interim Director, and you are up.
Madam Chair, Councilman Gale here. Just a quick question, if I may. Are these hearings going to be live? You're there at council chambers, I take it, with live people in front of you.
Yes.
So these are all going to be live hearings.
Hybrid.
Hybrid.
You're there,
but
I'm here.
okay, hybrid. I mean, they're not totally virtual. I must say I wasn't completely aware of that. So I apologize for not.
Yeah, no.
I would be there.
Gale, they're hybrid, so some people need to be not here, and some people are here.
No, I applaud you for making them hybrid. I would be there had I known. I thought they were all virtual.
Okay. No, see you tomorrow. You want to run down now? Are you home? Or you want to?
I'm up the street, but
Come on,
I may
run
just
down.
end up staying here for now.
Okay.
But
All right. Thank you, Councilman Gale.
all right, thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Director Fleeting.
Good evening. I would like to start by thanking the mayor and COO for allowing me to present the budget for human resources. Thank you to Council President Clark. Thank you to Councilwoman Rossetti and all members of council. And I would like to give a big thank you to the best team on the face of the earth, the Human Resources Department, most of whom are sitting behind me, and then my senior team that's with me. These men and women make it possible to come to work every day and provide the services that we do for the city of Hartford. So round of applause for my team. All right. The Human Resources Mission Statement: the Department of Human Resources is committed to providing effective guidance and support to all city departments with respect to hiring, managing, developing, and retaining employees, labor relations, matters, and benefits administration. By establishing human resources policies and procedures, the department provides fair, consistent, and clear standards to be applied by the city of Hartford as an employer. The department provides direct services in the following areas: compensation, classification, benefits, employee relations, labor relations, training and development, recruitment, and HR technology. In addition, the department serves as a resource to department heads and city administration on matters involving collective bargaining agreements and state and federal employment law. Next, you'll see the organizational chart for our department. We have administration, employment services, labor relations, and benefits. Our FY27 recommended budget includes 17 full-time positions. Some of the FY26 highlights: in recruiting and training, HR has conducted 8 new colleague orientation presentations to 142 new hires over the last year. Marketing initiatives have continued with bus ads, radio campaigns, Indeed, Careers in Government, CCM, and Civic Match. Developed a close relationship with the Department of Labor to earn priority spots in the local job fairs. We attended multiple job fairs, including fairs sponsored by Hartford Promise, Hartford Public Library, Hartford Athletic, and University of Hartford. We also held our 2nd annual City of Hartford Career Fair. To date, FY26 HR has completed 2 entry-level police recruitments and 1 entry-level police recruitment in process. This has resulted in a total of 767 applications received, 130 applicants sent to Hartford Police Department for backgrounds, and 13 candidates hired thus far. 49 are pending background results from January 20th, 26. Additionally, HR has conducted 4 promotional exams within the fire department, 4 recruitments in emergency telecommunications dispatcher trainee, and 3 exams for the maintainer services in public works. We also conducted over 25 exit interviews to gather data to improve retention. We continue to work with the city departments to conduct supervisor training and to develop a regular training program and schedule hosted by the HR department. Some more highlights in benefits administration. The City of Hartford average annual health benefit plan cost trend is the 5-year look back is 6%. Projected health benefit plan cost trend is 9%. CVS Caremark Pharmacy prescription cost increase was a negative 1.4% versus the projected drug cost trend, which is 11% increase. FY26-27 overall health benefit plan cost increase is 5.9%, outperforming the average trend by over 3%, excluding over 65 retirees on state Medicare Advantage plan. The life insurance transition and city and board, you see the numbers there, it's 910,582 versus 1.9 million or 1,970,196, which is an annual savings of $1,059,614. Health and wellness, employees engage in the following free services offered through the benefits division throughout the year: biometric screening, monthly mobile mammograms, flu vaccines, BP screenings, back and chair massages and chiro PT visits, weekly mindfulness workshops, health and wellness challenges, weight loss and step challenges, healthy eating, hydration, sleeping, and stress management. In employee and labor relations, we continue to collaboratively work with leadership in city departments to identify critical vacancies and negotiate changes to job descriptions, pay, and qualifications to reflect current market data to assist with recruiting and retention. In the last 4 years, 108 of the 248 job classifications actively used by departments have been updated, with an additional 10 classifications in the process of being created or updated. We closed 32 grievances to date in FY26, which is 88% of which were successfully denied at the HR level of the grievance process or resolved before arbitration proceedings. We work collaboratively with the Department of Public Works and Local 1716 to establish an equipment training and progression schedule for the Maintainer 1 and Maintainer 2 classifications. Our strategic initiatives: we negotiate collective bargaining agreements that are fair and equitable, continue to partner with departments to prioritize the hiring of Hartford residents, particularly within public safety positions, continue to update policies, departmental procedures, and job descriptions, provide mandated and optional training opportunities to city employees, continue to automate HR systems to reduce administrative burden and increase organizational effectiveness, foster employees' overall work-life balance through the valued benefits packages offered and the ongoing health and wellness initiatives provided. Our total adopted budget for FY26 was $2,221,397. For 27, we have a recommended budget of $2,244,520, which is 1%, and the variance is driven by union salaries, increases, in staffing changes. That's the budget comparison. Budget highlights and areas of focus. For FY27, approximately 50% of the FY27 budget is allocated for recruitment and testing. FY27 budget includes funds for 1 police promotional exam, 4 fire promotional exams, and continued marketing strategies. Our areas of focus: we will continue to focus on ways to attract Hartford residents for jobs to the fullest extent possible. with a focus on diversity, inclusion, and representation at all levels. We will continue to look for opportunities to enhance employee development, engagement, and satisfaction with the goal to increase employee retention and upward mobility. Partner with outside consultant, city departments, and the unions to identify critical vacancies and to update or change job descriptions, salary ranges, and qualifications to assist with recruitment, retention, succession planning, and employment transitions. Continue to encourage and engage all City of Hartford employees in ongoing training opportunities, including EEOC, ADA, diversity, inclusion, and workplace sensitivity, OSHA, supervisory labor relations, reasonable suspicion, drug testing, and sexual harassment training programs. Continue to promote and expand the city's new colleague orientation program. Continue to negotiate with the Municipal Lawyers Association, the Police Union, the City of Hartford Professional Employees Association, and the School Crossing Guards for fair and equitable collective bargaining agreements. Continue to collaborate with the city unions and foster positive labor management relations in an effort to resolve any issues before they escalate to arbitration or labor board complaints. Continue to review processes, policies, and procedures, and implement additional efficiencies within HR and across the city. Our staff composition is as follows. We have 25% of City of Hartford residents and 75% that are non-Hartford. Race and ethnicity, 42% Hispanic or Latinx. African American is 17%, 25% Caucasian, 16% other. 58% female, 42% male. And that's it. Thank you. We will now take any questions you have. In the back, you can see the appendices for our breakdown further.
Thank you, Director. So I think we will start with my colleagues on the screen. I'm going to ask them to start with 2 questions each. And if we look at the time, we can circle back. And as always, we can always send follow-up questions via email, etc. So starting on the screen, I'll start with Councilman Gale and then work down. So Councilman Gale, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director. Director, if you could go back to page 6 of your presentation. I just need I need a little bit more explanation on the category there, benefits administration. I don't really understand what is being conveyed when you say the average annual health benefit plan cost.
Okay, yep, no problem, Councilman. I'll let our benefits director answer that question.
So for underwriting purposes, we have to make an assumption of where healthcare is going to, based upon inflation, what we have to budget for the future. So we've consistently been under the trend number for the last at least 5 years.
So is this the projected increase in the total expenditure of the city for our healthcare plan?
For 5.9% is our overall projected increase, correct? But not for over 65. Well, actually, a portion is for the over 65, but yeah, so 5.9.
All right, so that's 5.9. I see that's the overall health benefit cost. But the first bullet says 6% 5-year look back. Is that essentially the same number, just looking at a 5-year look back?
So if you look back 5 years, our average increase has been 6% versus what the market and the book of business for our consultant is. So it's usually around the 8% mark. Our consultant actually trends our claims at an 8% increase, assuming that's the inflation rate for a medical trend. So we are under that, at least for the last 5 years on average.
Well, great job on that, certainly. The fourth bullet there, life insurance,
Yes.
I'm not sure, what are we comparing there?
So our current life insurance, well, our previous life insurance contract was with Lincoln Financial. Life insurance contracts are really commodities, so we go out to bid every once in a while, every couple of years. Every 2 years, we go out to bid to make sure that we're getting the best price for our coverage that we have to provide under contract. So Lincoln Financial was the last carrier. Before that, we had the Hartford. Before that, we had Aetna. And now we have the standard. So we're always looking out for the cheapest option for contractual obligations. This particular case, Lincoln Financial increased our rate 130%. So we went out to RFP, and we were paying $865,000 a year. Lincoln wanted to increase it to like $1,900,000 a year. We went out to bid, found the standard for a 6% increase from like 850 or 60,000 to 910,000. So technically, by going to RFP, we saved about $1 million a year.
Well, excellent, thank you. Great job again.
Yep.
And I take it that's life insurance we're providing for not only city employees, but Board of Education employees. Is that the idea?
Correct. So we went out with the Board of Education, as we do on a number of different RFPs, in conjunction and in partnership with the Board of Ed.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have another question, but I'll wait for the second round.
All right, thank you. Councilman, Assistant Majority Leader Hernandez, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So actually, following up on that life insurance, I think I know the answer, but I want to just make sure. That $1 million of savings, I assume that we will see those savings across, multiple departments, that we're going to be evaluating, in the next few weeks. So is it fair to say that when we look at the life insurance part of the benefits on every department or every department that has city employees and BOE, we should see those savings across those departments? Is that fair to say?
Well, in the fringe benefit calculations, there may be a little reduction. So once again, as Councilman Gale was saying or asking, the Board of Ed is about 2/3 of the savings. We're about 1/3. So there will be a reduction per $1,000 of coverage. So our per $1,000 of coverage is 20 cents. Lincoln Financial wanted 40 cents. So it calculates depending on how much insurance somebody has by contract, how much insurance somebody has after retirement by contract. So there's different levels of savings that's going to be applied to different collective bargaining agreements, both active and retirees.
Okay, no, I understand. I think it'll probably be minimal, and it's combined with the rest of the fringe benefits. So I may not even actually see it unless I actually try to ask them to break down the fringe benefits, for each department. And I don't think that would be fair for me to do that. But I understand that it's a little bit more complex than just one number is just lower than before. There's different bargaining units agreements. So, and then my last question is not related to this. Is there a percentage of Hartford residents that we are targeting? Is there like a metric that we're trying to achieve? I know that it was mentioned that we're trying to prioritize hiring Hartford residents. I see on the appendix that we are at 30.5%. Is there a particular target that we're looking for to achieve?
We are trying to just increase the number all we can right now. We do put a target in our performance measures, but we do everything that we can to try to market towards Hartford residents. And then once we made those changes to civil service, they have the preference of being able to be interviewed for positions that they're certified for. So we don't have an exact number. Right now, just our goal is to increase it as much as we can and get the word out as much as we can of the variety of positions that we hold here at the city.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Thomas, do you have any questions? Are you on there?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for your presentation, Director Fleeting. Just one question I had, and it has to do with actually your last slide. It was about the residential numbers. And it's just a question, and comparative to like other municipalities, how are we doing in terms of resident to non-resident for all employees? So it was like 25% of employees are residents of Hartford, and then 75% are non-residents. When you compare it to other municipalities, like even locally or across the nation, like where do those numbers look like? That was just my question.
That last slide is actually just focusing on the Human Resources Department, but in the
Okay,
appendices,
got it.
in the appendices on page 13, it does break it down for full-time employees throughout the city. And so that we are at 30.5% of employees here at the city. We have not compared that to other municipalities. We can certainly try to look into that. The challenge being that the majority of our full-time employees are union employees, and we cannot require them to hold a residency in Hartford other than at the time of application. So it's hard to manage the number, but we can certainly get some comparison to other cities if we can get that data from them.
Yeah, I think the number just for comparison's sake would be nice to know. And I'm glad you told me that's just for the HR department. I forgot that's how we do it for like all these budget hearings. It's like the same setup and template. So I totally forgot about that. But thank you so much, God. I did think when I heard that before that the number was higher. So I'm glad that it's a little bit higher, but it's not not as high as I think I would prefer. But thank you so much for answering the question. Appreciate you guys and great presentation.
Thank you so much. And I'll just add to that HR is non-union, and like Pam said, just to remember that with the union, we can't require or comply them to have the Hartford residency. So that's why numbers are what they are as well.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. To my right, we have Council President TJ Clark.
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your presentation. A couple questions with respect to the HR search. How was that going for the director?
Well, I think we're on our third. Yes. We're on our third recruitment for HR director. So it is open right now until another week or so. April 17th. And I think we have like maybe 2 applicants right now that applied so far. So that gives you a little idea of how eager people are to have this job.
Not eager at all, huh?
Yeah, so I'm just saying.
How many, actually, no, I think the vacancies that you've noted on the presentation, that's an accurate depiction of vacancies within HR?
Yes.
Okay.
On the 2 vacancies that we have?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you explain the process when somebody applies, let's just say, whether it's in Public Works or it's in one of our other departments, what's the HR process from start to finish?
So for classified or union positions, we would put the posting up, and if an applicant was to apply, they would put in their application, and they have to attach any required documentation. So if the position requires a driver's license or education, they have to attach those. And then from the HR standpoint, we will let the position close, and we will review the application and the resume and the documents that they attached to see if they meet the minimum qualifications that were outlined on the job posting that were negotiated with the unions. Once that is completed, they will get put on what we call an eligible register for open competitive positions open to the public. That will stay valid for 6 months, and we will certify those names to the department where the position is vacant. Once that list goes to the department, they will get everybody who qualified from that posting, and it will notate if they are a veteran or Hartford resident that they are required to interview. And the department has to interview 2 more than the number of vacancies, or at least contact 2 more people on there than the number of vacancies for interview. Our hope is they interview and they pick somebody, and they return that list back to us. If they do not pick somebody, then we will go through the posting process again. If they do, then we start the onboarding process.
So when you are comparing the minimum qualifications, I'm assuming it's the resume and other documents that are requested to upload. How was that analysis done when you were doing the comparison? Is it more subjective or objective?
It's a little of both. So we try to look at what they've submitted to us in whole. So we do look at the application, but we also check the resume to see how much detail they've put on both. But we try to look at the position as a whole and try to use what they've given us to determine the level of responsibility that the position had and what amount of those duties that they listed do fit into those qualifications. So we try to get as much information as we can. We have started adding supplemental questions to all of our job postings to try to pull a little bit more information out for some of those kind of niche things that you might not traditionally put on a resume, that we can try to kind of get some more information from there. So we try to look at it as a whole, look at how many people they're supervising, how long they've been in that role, what the duties are that they've listed there, and try to determine if they meet those qualifications.
So at what point, and I'm prefacing my question because I have a specific example, and I don't want to give much information about this, but at what point does HR deem a person not qualified for a position when the resume will read that they actually match all the requirements? For example, there's a person that applied to Sports and Rec Department, and when you take a look at the resume, they meet all the qualifications, but then they were indicated in the response to HR that they were not qualified for the position. So how do you make that comparison as to they qualify, but they're indicating that they're not qualified?
It's kind of hard to answer that a little bit because I can't see the exact, person. It would really depend on what they put on their resume, right? So they may think that the way that they worded it does meet those elements of the minimum qualifications that we're looking for, but we didn't see it. Sometimes candidates do reach out to us and we have a little dialogue with them as well, and they may give us some additional information that we can use to then qualify them. But it really depends on the level of qualifications we're looking for. If it says responsible progressive experience, we need to be able to see that in the resume or in the application as well. So it's hard to say generally, but we do the best that we can to gather as much information as we can.
All right, thank you for that. And my follow-up question, I have a second set of questions, but I will wait for the second round. When you are doing your screenings, does the HR department utilize AI technology, and does the city have an AI policy?
No, we do not use AI when we are reviewing applications. Our applicant tracking system actually can screen application based on like buzzwords, but we need to make sure that they meet those minimum qualifications, so we put eyes on every single job application. We don't do any AI, we don't do any automatic screening. We look at every single resume and application that comes in.
And does the city have an AI policy?
I don't believe we do, no.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Second round, Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was intrigued when you were going through the highlights to see that for the, I guess this was for entry-level police, there were 767 applications received. So it sounds as though at this point in time we don't have any problem attracting people who want to work for the police department. They might not all be qualified. I guess it says you culled them out and sent 130 applications to the HPD. Is this a dramatic increase in interest in our police department?
The it increased a little bit, but nothing dramatic. We've been able to get applications in for police officer on a regular basis. It's more of getting them to show up at testing and getting them to pass those tests, which the recruiting division in HPD does an amazing job trying to work with people to get them to pass that. And then once they get to the background process, that does tend to screen some people out because there are standards that post has that the department doesn't have any leeway on that they have to follow. So we can get quite a few people on the list and sent to backgrounds, but they do have to meet those post standards, which tends to be a little bit of a challenge from what we're seeing.
I see. So there's a lot of people who are interested in being a police officer, but a lot of them really don't qualify.
Or don't show up for testing. We have a lot of no-shows as well.
It's like, what is this? Just sort of a spur of the moment. Oh, I think I'll apply to be a Hartford cop, and then you just don't show up.
I think they're also applying for other municipalities. I think traditionally in the past, Hartford has hired more than other municipalities because we're a larger force. But now with there being an issue with hiring public safety in general, we are competing more with other municipalities that traditionally we weren't competing with, because now it seems like all municipalities are hiring all at the same time, whereas before, you know, maybe Manchester was hiring once a year and Hartford was hiring 3 or 4 times a year. So I think the competition has gone up just because of the nature of hiring for public safety as well.
Oh, I see. So one person might throw in a resume to 6 different departments, and if they
Yes.
get called back by 3, they don't bother to show up for Hartford at that point.
Absolutely. And just so you know also, Councilman, we continually have a police recruitment. So we continuously hire for police. We just closed the recruitment. Well, we had an agility test on the 28th of March, which was a Saturday, but that Friday, a new recruitment was already up and posted. So we currently have one posted. So they're constantly going. There's no gap in between.
All right. So on that, the concept here of vacancies, I know several years ago, you know, at these budget hearings, we spent a lot of time talking about the number of vacancies throughout the entire city. And as I recall, the number at the time was quite large. You didn't give us any statistics tonight. Can you tell us where we are with respect to total vacancies throughout the city workforce?
As of March 1st, we had 239 vacancies, which does sound a little bit of a jarring number, but that's 14.4% of our full-time population. So it sounds like a lot, and the majority of that is the police department and police officers, but it has been slowly going down as we've brought in more people. Our new hire numbers are going up, so that's always a good sign too.
So that's not Board of Ed, that's just the city
Correct.
side, 239 vacancies. And you say that number is down from a couple of years ago?
It's down from a few years ago, and it's also down in July of 2025. At the start of the fiscal year, we had 261 vacancies. So we are getting quite a few. We do still have quite a few vacancies, but our new hire numbers are going up, but unfortunately some of our separations and resignations are going up as well, which is why one of the focuses that we want to do this year is retention, because we can bring in all the new hires, but if people aren't staying, it's kind of equaling itself out a little bit.
So last question on that. When I see the chart that says total number of employees, it was in your appendix showing 1,413 total employees. Do we actually, would I add 239 to that to say how many positions the city actually had?
Yes, and then there's been some, changes over, because that was as of February 5th. So right now, as of March 1st, we were actually budgeted for 1,656 full-time positions, and that includes general funded positions as well as grant funded positions.
Thank you. Give me that number one more time if you would.
Sure. 1,656 positions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. System Majority Leader Hernandez, do you have another question?
I'm all set, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And Councilman Thomas, do you have another question?
I'm all set as well.
Thank you. I do believe Council President has another question.
I do. Insurance and labor relations. Rich, I would like to say I commend you on your team and your efforts regarding insurance. I really never knew how difficult it is to manage insurance plans and policies until I stepped into the role to do so. So I have a lot more gray hair than.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But on that note, and I've talked about this over the course of the years, are we anywhere closer to looking at the state partnership plan?
Well, Councilman, we do every year. We looked at it again this year in comparison to our current budget and what the cost would be if we moved our active population to the state of Connecticut, and it'd be a 10.7% increase to our budget at the state, which would equal about $2.65 million more. As you know, the state of Connecticut has basically a PPO or a copay card you just drop for a $15 doctor visit. We would all love to do that. It's frankly a very expensive plan, and it would cost us more.
Can you give that number again?
It's a 10.7% increase, or about $2.65 million more in our budget for just the actives.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty expensive, but I do know there are municipalities that actually greatly benefit from it. Has there been the cost analysis as to understanding that there's the increase up front, but over the course of time, taking a look at the trend, would the city actually be projected to save money over the course of the years?
Well, I mean, when we do this every year, actually last year it was 3.5 million more dollars. And actually, I think the state of Connecticut is, sort of doing a full court press on trying to get municipalities to join, because it was in 2022, I think there were $52 million in the hole. 2019, I think there were $20 million in the hole, and the legislature had to continually fund the program. And I think the program really relies on new entrants and premium payments by these new members. And it's sort of like a touch and go, it seems. And the legislature every year indicates that, well, we're not going to fund this anymore, and we're going to have to figure something else out. But, Councilman, I just have to tell you that our over 65 population 2 years ago, we're paying $175 a month. And then it went up to $350, and now they're at $450 within a couple years. And we had no say in that. It would be still cheaper to do it through the state than it would be for ourselves, but it just provides some kind of a glimpse. When you're with the state of Connecticut, it's really no panacea, as we can tell with our over 65 population.
So the over 65 population is on the state's plan?
Right, because we used to have it on our own, and as the group starts dwindling, it becomes a death spiral, because the only people that remain on the plan are the sick individuals. And then what happens is the percentages keep going higher and higher and higher, and the rate starts skyrocketing upwards. So we joined the state of Connecticut plan, which has 50,000 lives, thinking that it would really be a big savings. And initially it was, a couple $1 million, but as you move forward, you find out that it's like I said, no panacea. It was a great deal. Now it's not so much a great deal. Aetna, who is the carrier, continues to reopen the contract because there's more people joining. They have a contract opener. If there's 10% more people joining, they opened up the contract and went from $350 to $450 without a say. And it's disappointing because it really affects our over 65 population. And they're hanging in there. I have like 590 contracts, but at $450, they do call and they cry to try to find something else. And unfortunately, when we do try to find something else, it's more expensive than what the state is offering. So it's very difficult for these retirees.
Do we offer an incentive to city employees who opt out of taking our insurance?
We encourage it. I believe we have a payment in lieu of program for, I believe, every contract now, if I'm not mistaken, that they, if they opt not to have our insurance and they're off our insurance for an entire fiscal year, some contracts may be prorated, that they have to be off our contract at least 6 months out of the year to get a prorated amount. They do get, I believe, about $2,500 or thereabouts to stay off our plan, which for me, it's a home run, Councilman, because my insurance at a family plan runs between $40,000 and $42,000 a year. So when we have new hire orientations, I tell new employees, I said, it's not just your salary, but it's the benefits that you receive, that you are very lucky to sit in those chairs and have a job here. Because at $42,000 for a family plan, that's a heck of a lot of money, more than sometimes their salary.
Yeah, that is. And you said that's paid out through every pay period?
Oh, you have to be off the insurance for one fiscal year or prorated, but you get it in the July of the following year.
Okay.
And we
okay.
require a form to be filled out every year for everybody who's on payment in lieu of.
Do you know how many people?
260,
Oh, really?
around there, 200 and 250.
Interesting.
I believe so. Right about there, yeah.
Okay. How many labor contracts do we have open?
We have 4.
4 open right now?
Yep,
What-
municipal lawyers started last year. We're in mediation with them right now. We're waiting for dates. And then we just started with police, HPA, and school crossing guards.
Who represents the school crossing guards?
CSEA.
Okay.
They also represent HPA.
And if you, so when you said MLA is in mediation, the other 3, when are their terms set to expire?
Their contracts expire June 30th, 2026. So shortly.
Now, what happens when they are, if the city and the union do not come to an agreement before then?
We can go into what's called a stipulation in agreement, which waives the timelines for arbitration, which I believe in all these cases we probably will, because we only are exchanging ground rules for lots of different reasons. If for some reason that's not agreed to, or at some point we cannot reach a settlement on a contract, then we would have to go to binding interest arbitration, which is what we did with fire, but then there was an agreement eventually. So there's a process under state statute for that. It's a 3-panel board. There's a neutral, a labor management arbitrator, and a management labor arbitrator, and we present evidence just like we would do in court, and testimony. Of course, it's just a lot more lax than in court. And then after that, we write briefs, reply briefs. We have to present data on comparability, and then the arbitrators meet and they issue a decision, issue by issue. So, and what happens is each side has to put in what's called a last best offer. So example, I'll just give you, if we're in wages and the union is at 6% and they go in with a final last best offer of 6%, and the city's last best offer is 3%, the arbitrator can only pick 6% or 3%. They can't pick something in the middle. And they do that on each issue in dispute, and that becomes your decision and your contract, which is then brought forward to you, City Council.
And with that, does the city hire a consultant to help out HR, or this is totally handled within HR?
For arbitration, we do usually have an attorney that takes us through that process and represents us, but HR supports that attorney and does a lot of the work. Especially I have a lot of experience in labor relations, so I do try to assist so that we can cut down on arbitration costs, but they do represent us, and, you know, they're the ones who's doing the witness, you know, basically questioning the witnesses. For the negotiations themselves, it's a kind of a combination. oftentimes for police and fire, because those will often end up in arbitration, or because they have one or more attorneys present, we'll either have one of our internal attorneys present, which they, in the last several years, someone from Corporation Counsel has sat on all of our negotiations with us, but sometimes we've also had outside counsel on those. And also because HMIA, as of late, has gone to arbitration in their last two, not the last contract, but the previous two contracts, the city has decided to have an attorney present in those, because, so that we have consistency if we sure to go to arbitration.
Okay,
But it's kind of a combination approach.
okay. With respect to recruiting of Hartford residents, I know recognized in the civil service process is open to everybody, but more so, let's say with, since you have active recruiting for Hartford Police Department, has there ever been a time where we just solely focused on Hartford residents as far as recruiting?
I don't handle recruiting, so I'm going to hand.
In the almost 7 years that I've been here, we haven't just only allowed applications for Hartford residents. What we do now is, for their preference for Hartford residency, is we separate the postings. So there's a posting and application process for non-Hartford residents, one for Hartford residents, and then one for laterals, because the police department has been able to get quite a few laterals recently as well. And so they go on their own list where they're marked as Hartford residents, and they're sent to the department that way.
And regarding the agility test, what's the other one?
The oral.
The oral examination and the written. I know once upon a time that there used to be classes that would help Hartford residents because they would just have difficulty doing the oral or the written, or combination thereof with their skills of agility. Is there, who does the city work with to prep individuals if they actually need some type of assistance?
The city, oh, sorry. Okay. The City of Hartford Police Department, their recruitment division is awesome. Sergeant Austin, Marquez, Nikki, they work tirelessly with applicants who want to pass this test. So they work with them before the test, they work with them on the actual agility piece, the written piece, the oral piece. They have classes, they go to Parker, they run at Parker, they run at Weaver, they meet all the time. And then they're actually on site at their actual agility test. So on the 28th of March, we had our agility test, they're on scene. So if people fail, they walk up, they know that they failed, they find out what their deficiencies are, and they immediately get them right, right back in recruiting with them and training and helping them out. So they work really hard for the police department.
Okay, great. Do we have a percentage of how many Hartford residents that have come in and successfully pass out of the academy?
We would have to get that number. We don't have it on us now, but we
Okay.
can get that for you.
Thank you.
Percentage of Hartford residents who
Successfully passed the academy?
Okay. Yeah.
I would say over the course of the last 5 years.
Okay.
Thank you very much. No swag? You gave us swag last year.
We talked about it, but we didn't want to walk in with all these big bulky things, but.
Listen, I love it. Please.
We'll get you something.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any tumblers?
Tumblers?
Yeah, you don't have any tumblers?
No, we got something better for you.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Thank you,
No.
Madam Chair.
We do have tumblers, though.
No pressure, Director Fleeting. So, thank you very much for your presentation tonight.
Thank
you to your
you.
staff. And we will now go on to our next presentation, which is the Hartford Public Library.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And note, I'm drinking from my
Okay. All right. Hello. Good evening. Our next presentation is Hartford Public Library, proposed budget 26-27. With us is President and CEO Bridget Quinn, and I know you have some folks with you, but I will now pass it off to you.
Sorry. Good evening. Karen Taylor here, Chair of the Hartford Public Library Board, and really honored and excited to be able to kick off tonight's presentation for you all. The library is a place that is very near and dear to my heart, and I think it's very near and dear to our city. I have with me here the Vice Chair of the Board, Rick Costello, and we represent 2 of the 16 really dedicated professionals who are very serious about service regarding the library. And those professionals come from all across Hartford, Greater Hartford, and they're like the most proud and professional group of folks that you could ever work with. And so I'm happy to be able to represent them this evening in support of the library budget presentation. The library really is a critical organization in our city, particularly now as we're thinking about the socio-political context that's happening in our world. When you're thinking about literacy, whether it be foundational, long-form, financial literacy, digital literacy, civic literacy, thinking about the American Place that has just come up on its 25th year anniversary, and all of our neighborhood branches that really reflect the culture and dynamicism of every neighborhood across the city of Hartford. We have a library of things. We have jazz on Sundays. I personally have utilized the free passes to museums and to events that the library offers. We also have a few capital projects that are underway, as you all, I'm certain, know. Barber and Albany branches in the north end of Hartford. And so as this council considers, public safety, considers the future of education and economic development in our city, I think that the library is a critical partner in that, and the future of our capital projects and our programming really is contingent upon your approval of the budget this evening and for years to come, right? We also have a really invested staff in terms of programming across the city of Hartford. Think about passport services that are currently paused, but hopefully will be back up and running soon. Guard cards, like I said before, the American Place. It really is an organization that helps to undergird citizenship, and it really speaks to the civic liberties that we all are so really fond of in this time, especially considering, as I said before, the sort of federal and socio-political context that we're in. So my hope on behalf of our board is that you all will support the library's budget presentation this evening, and I'll turn it over to Bridget to give more context and color to the things that I've described.
Thank you, Karen, for serving as our board chair and leading, as you mentioned, just an incredible group of volunteers that are our board. I'm joined here this evening by several members of my senior team, who is the Chief Financial Officer and General Counsel, and she is here with her financial hat on today. Carl, as you know, is usually here, but Mary approved him for vacation this week, so she's now sitting here with us. Also have Gwen Cannon, who is our Director of Human Resources. And before I go further, I want to give a shout out to City Human Resources team, who are absolutely fabulous, and I'm sure Gwen would want me to tell you how wonderful they are and how great they are to work with and supportive they've been of the library. I also have Holman Nafasi, who is the Director of the American Place, Executive Director, and Gina Federico, who is our Director of Development. So I just want to go through our presentation. You can go to, there you go, and to the next one. Our mission and vision has remained the same, which is to provide free resources that inspire reading, guide learning, and encourage individual exploration. And our vision really is to ensure a future where all people, all Hartford residents, are inspired to learn and explore. As we will show on our usage highlights, try and go up.
No, up.
No, have it down. There we go. Okay. So just a little preview of how our services are being used. We had As you can see, in fiscal year 25, over 400,000 visits. That is trending upwards already in fiscal year 26. And the number of items checked out is 130,000 for last year. That number is also trending up, as are Wi-Fi sessions and other key performance indicators. So we are well used across the system. This just shows where our locations are across the city and the different locations. So we have 7, what I would say, full-service locations, full branch libraries and the downtown library, and then we operate the 2 boundless libraries, one at Roston School and one at West Middle. So I just want to give you an overview of, quick walk through what your community libraries are doing. Very busy locations at the Albany Library. Again, just a few highlights. Programmatic partnerships, resource fairs, seed starting workshops. But really what is most noted about the Albany Library, because all of our branch locations have their own special feel and service population, is that we have between 60 and 80, and sometimes more, students that come after school as a place to do homework, to relax, to be with their friends, to talk, to debrief, to get a snack. So it is a hub for after-school activity, which for the most part is very good. Some days it is a challenge to manage that many young people, but we have a fabulous staff over there and a U-Media space, which is a hands-on maker space for students, to try to make it as enriching and enjoyable for the students and their families as possible. The Barber Street Library, as you know, is the smallest library in our system now. It operates out of a 2,000 square foot storefront in Unity Plaza, but despite its small size, we continue to offer a robust array of services and programs there, including the food share distribution twice a month. As you can see, we're averaging about 90 bags that we give out each month. There's a new collaboration with Wheeler Clinic to provide community health services, as well as behavioral health and social service connections there at the branch library, just for the people in the branch, but also whoever's in the area when the clinic is on site. And creative programs, both at, not just both, but at Barber as well as across the system, we find that adults in particular really want to come together to do things like crafts or other kinds of hands-on activities with each other, and that's one of the things that Barber's, one of the things that they offer regular programming for, as does Campfield Library. Lots of free workshops, hands-on things, and these are both good examples in our community-based libraries where there is a loneliness epidemic. You've probably seen that on your social media feeds, but also in the media, and talking about the importance for healthy aging and healthy communities is making sure people feel connected. So the libraries are the front line of this, right, of combating the loneliness epidemic, because there's no barrier, there's no threshold, right? Anybody is welcome, everybody is welcome. And not only are they welcome when they walk in the door, they're greeted and they say, hey, come join this program, or hey, do you need some help, or let me introduce you to this other person in your neighborhood. So we really are there to help build community in so many different ways, as well as skills, and for people to have fun. At the Dwight Library, this is our leading spot for people to get municipal IDs. We do it in all of our locations, but Dwight always comes out as the most popular location. I think part of the reason is we have 3 bilingual staff who really are there to offer the service, and it's an easy process for them. They will do it in a walk-in basis from 10 to 4 every day. Hartford Public Library is the city's service provider for processing municipal IDs. We don't charge for that. We just do the service. There is a charge, but the money that is paid by the person for the ID goes right to the vendor who provides the ID themselves. We provide the service to the community at no charge. Park Street Library at the Lyric, such a dynamic space all of the time. It's just so bright and welcoming. Every third Tuesday of the month, we provide a centralized community support resource day, so those have been incredibly popular for people. And other initiatives that happen there over the winter, they distributed over 100 coats to people, gently used or new coats that had been gathered by our staff to hand out to people that needed a warm coat for the winter. So this also demonstrates, our commitment to a strong social network, but also our role as a convener. I mean, these are public spaces, and I think a really valuable role that the library plays is a place to welcome a lot of different community groups, service providers in as a one-stop and easy place. Because again, people feel comfortable coming into the library. It's a warm, welcoming, safe place. And last but certainly not least, Hopkins Library. They have been serving as a annex to the Hartford History Center, but they're really developing their own identity as a history research center, so that is ongoing. They're taking a little pause while we're getting the Hartford History Center downtown up and running, but we'll be back there to provide access for researchers. But we also provide a lot of digital navigation there. Many adults come there during the day for assistance, but we also serve as a resource for the school children that are part of the SAN school. And just to give you a sense again about the municipal IDs, how many we issue every year. Last fiscal year, well, 2 fiscal years, fiscal 24 was really a banner year. I think that was part of the change in administrations, and some of the things that are going on the federal level is reflected there. People really recognizing the need to have a valid form of ID. The demand has stayed pretty steady. It's grown obviously since fiscal year 22, but we continue to see a really robust need for that for people that are new to Hartford, maybe new to the United States and new to Hartford. So it is a really valuable resource, and I commend the city for putting that in place, and we're happy to partner with you on that. Our youth and family services, we serve so many young children and families. In our summer learning program in 2025, you can see how many youth, over 2,000 young people participated in our summer reading challenge, thousands of books read. One of the other wonderful things that we're able to do in partnership with Hartford Public Schools is offer summer meals. And it's not just summer lunches, sometimes it's early morning or later afternoon snacks and food. There are many families that rely on the library being part of that network for their summer meals and for food for their families over the summer when they can't access the schools. Our Teen and Services U Media, again, a dynamic hub after school for young people. This is when, Karen Taylor, our chair, was talking about literacy. This is where it happens. Digital literacy, media literacy, reading skills, being careful consumers of information and how to vet good resources. All of that is happening in new media despite, the students. So it's informal learning, but it's reinforcing what's happening in schools, and it lets students explore what they're interested in. So if they're interested in virtual reality or augmented reality, or if they're interested in architecture or fiber arts or sound recording, that's the place they can go and explore all those things, photography, esports. And then that's a draw for our U-Media team to pull them in to talk about careers, to talk about college, and to help them navigate through the different processes for how they would achieve their goals, actually sitting down and doing a plan, doing a resume, connecting them with other service providers, educational resources. So they really are the conduits for the future for our young people. One other unique thing that they're offering at the locations that we're at is driving simulation. There's many young teenage potential drivers in Hartford, and as you know, in order to travel to a job or just have that independence and that ability, you need a driver's license, and there is not driver's ed available to students in schools. So we provide driving simulation, we help them take their permit tests, and then we actually have funding in a couple of the locations after school that we are able to provide actual road training, road service training for students that are enrolled. So that's a really valuable service and helps those kids get their driver's license. And maybe they will grow up to be a driver of our Library on Wheels, which is a fabulous mobile library. It's brand new as of, I think, 2 years ago. We got the new one. This stops all over the city, had 113 stops between July of last year and April 1st of this year, go to outreach events, schools, community groups. We get calls all the time, can we bring the library on wheels? So we try and accommodate as many of those stops as we possibly can. We offer robust social services. Probably about 2 years ago, maybe not quite 2 years, we hired a full-time social worker on staff, and that has been a tremendous asset to the community as well as to supporting the staff, because our library staff, as wonderful as they are not trained in social services, and many of the questions that we were receiving from the public were related to how do they access social services. So we have a social worker on staff. We also have another position that is there to help with case management as part of a grant-funded position. So over 300 people a year that, over the last few months that we've been able to serve have really found this as a valuable service. We also have philanthropic support from Cigna to provide a special program to get rides for people that don't have transportation to medical appointments. So they don't have to navigate, bus routes or get their own Uber. And since that commenced not quite a year ago, we've had over 300 rides to medical appointments provided through that service. So that's really mostly grassroots, word of mouth. The American Place, I know we talked about this a lot last year because of the loss of federal funding for this critical program. I am very happy to say that we are continuing the program. We are not able to see quite as many people through the program as we had previously. However, because of our dedicated creative staff, both in TAP and in our development and grant department, we have been able to find resources to help fill the gap and continue that. We also have implemented a fee-based service for those people that have the capacity to pay. If not, they still receive the free service. And this year we had every year we support about 150 individuals to attain citizenship. Another piece of our offering for the American Place is workforce readiness and workforce development. And we are offering a CompTIA A+ certification training that's funded through Capital Workforce Partners. That's been a very popular program. In fact, we've got interns that work for our own IT department as part of this program. And we had 7 program participants get full-time employment with benefits and 6 get part-time employment. And so far, over the life of this program, we've had 16 that have retained employment. So the track record for that is very good. And let's go to the next one. English language learning is still a core service of the American Place. And we do a lot, particularly with young people, an after-school English services program. And this year, the program had 35 young people enter college from that program, and since the life of that program, over 100 young people have entered college thanks to that program. So that's a pretty incredible one. The Digital Library Lab is one of our newer offerings. It's a social enterprise that we developed to help create additional revenue streams for the library so that we are sustainable longer term. But it's also a place where we, again, have an opportunity for interns so that they can learn a skill and career pathways, and a valuable job training program. This is where we do very, very high quality 2D and 3D digitization for both archival quality as well as for online access and enhanced searchability for resources. One of the things I want to highlight is we are working with the Department of Development Services in a large-scale digitization program. We've already done one phase, and we are working on a current one, and looks like there's another phase potentially down the line for us. Again, we're able to bring in interns from different schools to help with that, again, to learn a skill, as well as to help us with the workload. So that's been an incredibly wonderful service to offer. HPL Studios is one of our newer initiatives as well, and this really recognizes that libraries, as awesome as they are, of repositories of knowledge, and we curate collections, including books in all sorts of formats. But we have an incredibly talented community, and we want to foster the ability for those creative people to create their own content, because that is the future, right? That's what we see every day, content, content, content. So how do you do that? You need to learn how to do that, and HPL Studios is the place for us to do that. We've been doing workshops up until now, but with the new library downtown, we will be offering physical space for people to come in, learn how, and then record a podcast. There'll be editing suites. There'll be a state-of-the-art audio production suite. There will also be a wonderful film, broadcast, and video production suite of studios and offices for Hartford Public Access TV, who will be coming on site with us. So we will be partnering with our wonderful friends at HPA-TV, and we're really excited about that. I know I'm going quickly, almost through. The downtown renovation is nearing completion. We have just opened our second floor spaces. We did a soft opening for that. We didn't want to wait for all the other spaces because there was such a demand for space down on the first floor. We opened up this fabulous space on the second floor with study rooms that are free to reserve for people. And we just welcomed a new cafe vendor. It's Futures Inc. And they started a few weeks ago. We are doing a ribbon cutting with them on April 23rd. We'd love to have anybody come if you'd like to join us. And Futures operates a Futures Cafe in Middletown, and this is their new Hartford location. They provide on-the-job training skills for people with disabilities, and they're a wonderful mission-based partner, as well as they make an incredible scone and a really, really, really good macaroon if you like coconut. I highly recommend it. The downtown library construction and renovation of our other spaces on the first floor in Hartford History Center are nearing completion for the broadcasting studio, the Flex Event Space, Business Resource Center, and Hartford History Center. The rest is coming soon, and I would ask you to save the date for June 1st. That is the date we will be cutting the ribbon, pulling down all of the temporary construction walls, and welcoming the community back in. So June 1st, 11 o'clock, be there or be square. We need to have you there. We're really excited about that. And that also launches a full week of programming, really robust. We've got Hartford Symphony Orchestra, we've got authors, we've got dance, we're doing a Books and Brew, we're doing an art walk launch. It's going to be a fabulous week of events. The two other capital projects that we're working on, the Barber Library, I'm really thrilled to say that we will be breaking ground on Wednesday, May 20th at 11 in the morning. This is a long time coming to get here, and I'm so excited that I actually have a date for you that we will be celebrating the groundbreaking. This is going to be just an incredible new library facility. Thankfully, we will be able to keep the Barber Library open in its storefront location until this reopens, but this represents 8 times as much space for the community. That will have a community room, an adult learning center, dedicated teen space, young youth space, and just a wonderful way to kind of be a beacon of that corner for learning and community engagement. The Albany Library, we are also moving forward with. We are in discussions with the Department of Development Service about moving forward with an updated assessment for the stabilization of the Northwest School and reconvening on the building plans for the rest of the library, including updated estimates for how much that project will cost. We did go out and reapply for historic tax credit, so there have been things happening behind the scenes, even though we haven't been able to move this forward. We've been really focused, obviously, on downtown and Barber Street, but now we'll be able to turn more attention to Albany and really think through that. It's been a couple years since we did community engagement there, so we're going to also go back and have some updated conversations with the community just to level set and say, hey, this is what we were thinking. Is this still what is needed in the community? And what's that?
Can I pause you for
Oh,
one
yeah,
second?
sure.
And I would be remiss if I didn't just really give Bridget and her team their props. They really, as we're going through some of these capital projects and thinking about all of the things that go on behind the scenes, from negotiations to hearings to, advocating with different constituents to make sure that these projects happen. Not only is this team kind of like great stewards of what they already have, they're very innovative in creating more. So there are some organizations you wonder, like, where'd the money go? This organization, I wonder, like, how are we able to do all of the things? Like, they are incredible stewards, and they're incredibly innovative when it comes to development, programming, and just thinking about the future of our city. So I really want to give Bridget and her team a shout out, because what they do is really phenomenal when you think about all of this, from like the logistics of putting the buildings up, to repairing buildings, to rebranding, to programming, and then all of the things that are happening at our national level and landscape. It really is phenomenal. So just wanted to make sure that we said that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great segue to our budget ask. So we have requested an increase from the city for this year, and as in years past, we come in with a request to cover the cost of salary increases. We have not substantially increased headcount, so the salary increases represent negotiated increase, step increases for our staff for the next fiscal year. Fringe benefits, we work very closely with our partners at the city to estimate what those fringe benefits will cost, and that's obviously based on our salaries, the number of staff that we have. And the non-salary expenses include our facilities, maintaining the buildings. You know, for example, last fiscal year, we had received an increase from the city in that line, and we used that to repair an elevator, a very, old elevator that we were able to repair and bring back instead of replace, so that was much appreciated. Utilities is also part of the non-salary expenses. That's based on actuals, actual utility throughout utility use, and we know that those costs are going up. And that's pretty much what's in our OTPS expenses. So the increase that we've asked for represents 4.3%. Oh, the other piece that's in the OTPS is collections. So in the library world, we've had a kind of seismic impact. Is the largest book distribution provider, Baker & Taylor, suddenly went out of business, and so libraries were left scrambling to find distributors. There are two other ones, but neither one of them were ready to take on the bulk of that. So as you can imagine, because there was less opportunity, the costs have gone up. So that is one driver for that. The other is actually an interesting one. For many years, Hartford residents or our card holders lagged in the use of electronic resources, e-books, e-content in general. But after the pandemic, the Hartford community just ramped right up there, and the demand for electronic resources continues to be very, very high. Electronic resources are more expensive than printed books. You would think it would be the opposite, but it is not. The models for purchasing electronic resources are very convoluted, and they're more like a lease agreement rather than a purchase. So it creates a lot of cost pressure on our collections budget when we try and maintain print collections as well as electronic ones. So we have asked for a slight increase in our collections budget this year. And then the final slide just shows you how the funds that we receive from the city are used. We put the bulk of what we receive from the city right into public services, and we do obviously put some into the rest of that, including facilities, as well as human resources and the administration behind managing our operation. And I found a new quote this year. If you were used to our old quote, I found this a new quote, which I thought was apropos. So thank you very much. I want to thank the council and the city for being such incredible supporters of our library. You really do, set the mark for urban libraries in this, not only in this state, but across the country. So thank you very much for investing in libraries.
Thank you. Great presentation. I will go to my colleagues on the screen. I see that Councilwoman Rosado has joined us. I know, let's see, I don't see Councilman Gale there. Oh, he's there.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
I'll start from the other end now. I'll start with Councilwoman Rosado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apologies for not being on the screen. I don't have great Wi-Fi where I'm at, but thank you for the detailed, great presentation. I was really excited to hear about the driving classes provided by the Hartford Public Library. I did not know that option was available for our residents. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. That will then bring me to Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't have any questions either. I was surprised. I didn't know that the library did so much, to be completely honest. It was very informative. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the new grand opening. And like you said, be there or be square.
Thank you.
Excellent. I've heard from Councilman Hernandez, so now we're moving on to Councilman Gale.
Thank you, and thank you, Bridget and staff. Great presentation as always. Couple of questions on your budget itself. You've provided us with the City of Hartford component, which the ask looks like it's 10.43 million for this year. You have other funding. I know you do substantial fundraising and grant funding. And so I'm just wondering what is the sum of your other funding and then the total budget for the library?
So we are still finalizing the rest of the budget. So we receive usually on any given year between 72 to 75% of our operating revenue from the City of Hartford. And that covers the bulk of our public service positions, our frontline positions. We also bring in anywhere between $1 million and sometimes $2 million a year in grants. Generally, that goes back out to fund the positions that are in the services that are affiliated with those grants. So our budget fluctuates each year, and the city funding, when we get that piece, we're able to finalize the rest of the budget, which will come to our board at their June meeting. But we are looking at an overall budget of a little over 14 million for fiscal year 27, but again, it's all still in process.
Thank you for that, and good luck in your grant requests, and good luck in your fundraising. I think that I could be wrong about this, but I think that you've been able to increase over the years the percentage of non-city funds that you've been able to bring in to increase all of the services that the library is able to provide. So that's a great thing.
Thank you. Yes, usually we do that graph. We show you how the percentage has changed over the years. When I first got here, it was over 80% that the city's contribution represented in our operational budget. So we have done a concerted effort to bring in more contributed income from other resources, including grants, including individual donors, annual giving, corporate giving, our event, as well as income off our endowment, which, when the market does well, we do well in that. So yes, it's in the digital library lab. We're looking constantly for other revenue sources to ensure that we are sustainable long-term and that we are good stewards of the city's investment.
Well, thank you for that. Talking about city resources, we have this subject come up with respect to the Board of Education, and as an example, and our Recreation Department. Our Board of Education has a tremendous number of facilities around the city, and many of those facilities have both athletic fields as well as gymnasiums. Some of them have swimming pools, and many of these things are very underutilized. And so we've started to talk about and try to move in the direction of getting more use out of the stuff that we have. It strikes me that all of our, maybe not all of them, but I would guess pretty much all of our schools have libraries in them. And I'm imagining that the Board of Education, in fact, I'm kind of pretty sure that the Board of Education has not been great at providing librarians these days. I think many, if not most of these schools may not even have a full-time librarian at this point in time. And I'm just wondering if there's been any thought, looking down the road of trying to do any kind of collaboration between the Hartford Public Library and these various school library branches where, well, any kind of collaboration. I don't know what it might look like, but just wondering if you've given any thought to that.
Yes, thank you. And in fact, we just had a really wonderful meeting with the superintendent and the chair of the school board just last week, which was, very productive and was able to provide the superintendent with a lot of background about our Boundless partnership, which has been a longstanding collaborative relationship between the Hartford Public Schools and Hartford Public Library, which in many ways is a model for urban school and public library partnerships. It's really robust. In fact, the Hartford Public Library is the source for the Hartford Public Schools integrated library system, which is the card catalog, the online catalog. We host that for the schools. We have a youth services librarian from each one of our branch locations that is the liaison with each one of the schools in their area. So we have connections for class visits, for resources for teachers, particularly recognizing that there aren't media specialists in most schools in the system. We also share collaborative purchasing and coordination between electronic resources. There's something called BookFlix. There's these really wonderful online learning resources for students and families that we plan together with the schools. We have the Boundless Libraries at Rawson and West Middle that support media center services in both those locations, and where we have public library branches co-located in schools, including Sands Hopkins and Parkville and Dwight. Those branch locations do serve as the media center for those schools. So we have a really robust relationship already. But I was super encouraged with our conversation with the superintendent and the Board of Education chair that they would love to think through what the strategy will be to enhance that relationship in the future.
For certain. And we also have a member of the Hartford Public Library Board who also serves on the Hartford Public School Board, Tyrone Walker, so he was part of that meeting as well. And so we're really being thoughtful about just really presenting the full range of services that are available currently in partnership with Hartford Public Schools to the new superintendent to see if that's something that we could continue, expand, or maybe re-envision.
Well, that's great. I'm really thrilled to hear that and encourage you to continue looking into all of these things, and thank you for all the great work that you do. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. Council President Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Bridget. Good to see you. Hello. How are you doing? You, Karen? Yes.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Good to see you as well.
Good to see you.
Well, you took some of my thunder because you already mentioned about the Barber Street Library, so I'm so happy to hear it. It is about time. I happen to see weeds growing up from the ground. But question regarding the Barber Street Library, where's the parking going to be?
So there will be limited parking on the site itself, and then street parking, and then the Unity Plaza lot is right across the street. So there isn't a large parking piece that is planned on the development of the library site to just maximize the amount of space that we have for the physical library building.
Got you. Much appreciated. How does, outside of the city's financial contribution to the library, how does the library sustain itself?
So we are very fortunate as an organization that's been around for now 252 years. We, over the, our predecessors in years past made good financial decisions as far as investments, and we are fortunate to have an endowment that generates income that we're able to use each year to supplement our operating allocation from the city. We're very conservative about that though too, because that's what holds us for the long term. And as noted, we've also over the last 10 plus years really focused on expanding our opportunity to bring in contributed income from all different kinds of sources. So grants and annual fund donations from individuals, corporate support, we're income from the Digital Library Lab. We have income from people using our photocopiers. So we really try and strike that balance of not making people feel like there's a cost associated to libraries, because that is a fundamental tenet of our existence, right? And our mission is to provide free resources and free access, barrier-free entrance to all of our services and programs. However, where it is appropriate and where our board agrees, we do try to find ways to either manage our costs or to help cover our costs. So for example, if you are an outside group and want to use one of our community rooms for a large presentation, including our staff support, we will work with you and assess a charge to cover the costs of an AV person or the facilities. So that's how we become sustainable, and it's also managed growth. We really try and think about, and we're in a strategic planning process right now, where does it make sense for us? Where do we need to grow to meet the needs of the community? And where are things that we may be able to say, okay, we can transition this into some other kind of offering. We've implemented, I think, very thoughtfully technology where technology makes sense without compromising service quality. Many people, when we ask them what's special about the library, they talk about their interactions with our staff. So, we're not an institution that's looking to say, you're only going to interact with this machine or everything is self-service, because so much of what we do relies on that human connection. But sustainability-wise, it really is looking at all different kinds of revenue opportunities for ourselves, and we just have an amazing development department and program people that have an eye towards thinking about grant and other funding opportunities.
How many people do you have on staff?
Right now we have 156 total people on staff. That's part-time and full-time. FTE is a little under, or about 100. Of that, 14 of those positions are fully grant-funded positions. So that headcount really hasn't changed much in the last 5 years.
And how many of those positions are unionized positions?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I will certainly get that to you.
Okay. And regarding the Albany Avenue branch library, what is supposed to go into the Northwest Jones School?
So our schematic design includes building a connector between the current Albany Library and the school. And in the connector, that would be the new main entrance from the back parking lot. So when you would come in that entrance and go, it would be left into the school. The school would be renovated to be classrooms, a community room, a teen center, and a cultural center, so special collections, research, cultural center.
Okay.
So that would all be included in the design of the redesign and repurposing of the school.
So where the current community room is, what will go there?
That will transition to be, I think that'd be our computer center, if I'm remembering our design right, because the ground is not level, so we had to design a slope, but where that current community room, that would open up, and that would create an opportunity for us to, that would be where our computers would go for adults to use. And then the rest of the Albany Library in its current, its current footprint would be mostly youth services, both, teen in one section and younger in the rest, because that's the challenge right now, is that adults come in and it's usually, even in the morning, we have young families in there. It's hard for adults to find quiet space to do work in there, or to just sit and, work on the computer without a lot of kids. So we're looking to create more designated spaces where adults can sit and read or study or research or go to the cultural center, and then there's dedicated spaces for youth.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
First, I want to congratulate Board Chair Taylor for doing something that a lot of people wouldn't step up to do. You're lucky. We're lucky. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank the CEO and her team. You know, as a lover of the library, did a lot for me, particularly in my younger years, particularly in my teenage years. It was a great place to say you were at and you weren't, but that's another story. But with my day hat, you know, I can't thank you enough for, you know, making sure that population is taken care of and respected and welcomed. You don't know how many times I hear people talk about, you know, how they feel safe at the library, how it's welcoming, and particularly with some of the catastrophes you've had over the years. We don't like to mention them, but I remember standing with you for your first catastrophe, and you right away saying, you know, what you would do to make sure the marginalized populations in the city knew where they could go and what would be available to them, and you know how important that was, and even during COVID, how important that was. So I never be able to thank you enough for that. So then that brings me to my difficult question. See how I set that up like that? So when I look at your map, and I'm just, you know, doing this because this is what a lot of constituents say to me, particularly in, you know, Southwest behind the rocks. If I kind of divide this up 3 ways, you know, we're kind of lacking in that we're lacking in that area. You know, we've got big old camp fields sitting there kind of all by themselves. Understanding it's budgeting and, you know, when you had to close Goodwin. But I think at some point, if there's ever a thought on how some kind of service can be brought back, particularly behind the rocks Southwest, if I hear that once a month, I hear that many times. The lack of, and it's a compliment to you really, because it's a lack of a resource that they really, really like, particularly Goodwin Brand. So I just bring that up because the visual also is kind of visual. And my colleague agreed with me, so I just thrown that out there. But with that said, understand, but I just want to put that in the kind of forefront of your minds. But other than that, if there are no, and you certainly can say something, but don't feel like you have to. Okay.
Well, no, I appreciate the feedback, and we're in the process of looking at an updated capital plan. But that's also something for us to think about as we explore additional service models, including, you know, the book locker that we have has been very successful. Not that that's a replacement, it's not, but it is a resource. The library on wheels, other outreach services we might be able to do, or partnerships with other organizations in the community. So I appreciate the feedback, and we will certainly take that back and think about it for our long-range planning and our capital plan.
Thank you. Much appreciated. If there are no other questions from my colleagues, and I believe there isn't, that brings this committee meeting to adjournment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Good night.
Yes.